That's huge. What's that?
Thanks, Dan.
Our federal government seems to forget now. So, okay, we'll go ahead and call our meeting to order and entertain a motion for the signing of claims in the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
All right. Daryl. Good morning, sir.
Yes.
To present our county's Veteran of the Month. This gentleman got in the service at the tail end or just after the World War II, but he was at the beginning of the Korean War. But also, he was at the history moment is because right at the pivotal point in late 40s, that's when the Air Corps was transitioning to the Air Force. So he was at the very start of that as well. And that's probably one of the reasons he left the Army and went to the Air Force Reserves, but I won't hold that against you. Gerald Romaine was born in July of 1928 in Montone, Indiana, to J. Monroe and Maud Romaine. He had a brother and a sister, Kenneth and Janet, and remained in Monroe until his graduation in May of 1946 from Mentone High School. In 46, he went right into the U.S. Army, attended basic training and advanced training in Fort Belvoir, Virginia, and then was sent off to Camp Kelmer, New Jersey, awaiting orders to Italy. He served from September of 1946 until he was honorably discharged in 1947 to the rank of technician, 4th grade. That's an E4. During his service, he received the World War II Victory Medal, Occupation Medal, and the M1 Sharpshooter Rifleman's Badge. After his discharge from the Army, he enlisted into the United States Air Force Reserve in 1950. He was stationed at Atterbury Army Airfield near Columbus, Indiana, which is separate from what we know as the Army Training Center that is Camp Atterbury. Separated. The purpose of that was to actually the first stage of trying to train ground troops to work with air troops. It seemed to work, starting the new transition, but that was their whole intent of why they separated the two and didn't bring them together. He was assigned to the 434th Air Refueling Wing, which, if anyone are history buffs, it has a history dating back in World War I. Very renowned, distinguished unit. He later married Donna Lynn. Later in that same year, they were blessed with 2 children, Gary and the mighty, and we have the blessing of seeing Susan here with us as well. In 1951, he was recalled to active duty, told to report to Scott Air Force Base. Before 1947, it was known as Scott Field for any of, those pieces there in St. Louis, the other St. Louis in Illinois. The later deferred since his wife was having the first child. So from there, he did his training. He reported back to the Air Force Reserve in Atterbury, and then remained until he was discharged in 1955 with the rank of Tech Sergeant, which is no easy task by itself. In his civilian life, he was an electric contractor, owner of Romaine Electric for over 50 years. During his time, he serviced homes, factories, and many businesses in Montone area. Gerald continued to look for ways to serve his community. He was the founder of the Bell Craft Museum, and if you haven't been out there, you really need to take the opportunity to go through that. It has evolved into a much, even from the time he became was the founder, it's evolved in great steps and a great history lesson by itself. Not only was he the founder of the Craft Museum located in Mentone, he became the first president of Cossiyosseo County Sheriff's Department Merit Board and served as the president of Mentone's Town Board, Chamber of Commerce, and Alumni Association. He served on the advisory board for Murphy Hospital, which no longer exists, and the Rosella Golf Course, which I thought was a big change from all the things that I was reading initially, but I fascinated. For 10 years, he was the marshal during the Phoenix Open in Arizona. That's a big distinguished, big golf tournament for those that don't understand that. You get selected for that. In May of 2011, he received the 434th Air Refueling Wing Honorary Air Crew Member Award, at which time he was fortunate enough to participate with a wartime trained refueling mission with the Combat Ready Air Crew on an old KC-135, which is a big tanker, carries a lot of fuel, and the pilots love it in the air. They don't have to land. He participated, most recently, I guess it's a relative, he was a member of the Honor Flight Program, Indiana's Honor Flight in 2014, which is very honor-driven by itself. He had 2 children, 3 grandchildren, granddaughters, and great-grandchildren, and 2 great-great-grandchildren. He's a life member of the American Legion and the Veteran of Foreign Wars, and continues to be a proud member of Mentone, Indiana community. Ladies and gentlemen, Veteran of the Month, Gerald Romaine. There we go. Yeah, see, this is what the Army taught him. He knows how to do it about face. The Air Force didn't tell him about that. Okay, with that, Kosciuszko County Commissioners award the Veteran of the Month to Gerald Romaine in recognition for his outstanding contribution to the mission serving the people of the United States, the residents of Kosciuszko County, and the honorable service as a member of the United States Army and the Air Force Reserve. Thank you for your service.
Well, I just want to thank you for this award, and there's one thing that I want to see happen in the near future, this guy here to get recognized, because we're lucky to have you. Thank you so much.
It is a fantastic job.
Recognize him every chance.
Thank you. I'm honored.
All right.
Took his keys out of
Steve.
his truck one night. He got mad.
Thanks, Rhonda.
Said, I want kids going bad, like drive by.
You need to lower that just a little bit, Rhonda.
I want to say something before he leaves. Gerald has been a big part of Mentone. And I remember him ever since I was little. The town of Mentone without Gerald is just weird, right? And Gerald, still this day, I get a couple calls for him before the football game. So it's always nice to hear from Gerald. So proud Mentone.
Thank you, Gerald. Thanks, Steve.
And he's still ornery, by the way. Today I bring before you a letter of support, and this comes from the Kosciuszko County Highway Department and from you as the Board of Commissioners in support of a safety improvement of 900 North and State Road 15. This currently is in our intersection, but yet it's still in our county, and we would like to see and be in support of any safety improvements that could be made to this intersection to reduce any fatalities or any further injuries at this intersection. We've drafted up this letter, and if you would be so kind, I'd like you to sign it and support, and then we'll send it to NDOT. That goes along with their study that they're doing upcoming here very shortly. We've talked to them, and they are aware of the situation, but we are just showing our support to push this forward to show that how important it is to us as a county to get this done.
You need a motion for that? I make a motion, we accept your request and support the letter being sent to NDOT.
Okay, we have a motion.
I second that. I know I've gotten phone calls on this intersection, something that we definitely need to try and push them to make some improvements to their intersection.
Absolutely. Okay, all's in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you very much for doing that.
all right, gonna leave it with Rhonda. Okay, Alan, how are you this morning?
Great, thank you.
Good.
All right, good morning, everyone. Pleased to be with you for a regular update to the commissioners. Typically provide a quarterly update, and so we're a bit early in the next quarter, so we're still compiling our results from Q3. And so I have, as a leave behind, our progress report we shared last week at our annual meeting. And so if there are any follow-up questions from the progress report, please do reach out. Provides a nice snapshot of the last 12 months as the local economic development organization serving the county. So a couple things that aren't in the progress report, I guess, to share as updates today. Number one, we're at 5 years since our relaunch in 2019. So as I moved into the role as CEO in fall of 2018, about 5 years ago, went through a strategic relaunch, new mission, new organization, built the staff up. But, in terms of the impact some of our projects have, we pulled some data from the state of Indiana that I wanted to share today. So if we just look at the projects that we've been involved in, where the state of Indiana, through the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, has been active, the investments pledged by those companies are more than $300 million to the local economy of investing in buildings and equipment, training about 300 employees, existing employees and helping them move into new roles at the companies, pledges of up to 1,800 new jobs, and then retaining about 2,800 existing jobs. So we're helping to move the needle, but the work really never ends. And that's, I guess, the message just to reiterate today is that we keep working very hard with the commissioners, council, redevelopment commission, departments, GIS, highway, other departments in the county, to make sure we're creating the best sandbox we can and make it as attractive as possible for investment here in Kosciuszko, because many of the companies we work with, have choices whether to invest here or elsewhere. We want to help make the best business case possible for that. And what does it mean as far as state support? I know there are requests that come to the county for local incentives like tax abatements. The projects that we've been involved in with the IEDC, the state of Indiana has pledged more than $21 million of state incentives. So about $11,000 per new job pledged. And those are all performance-based. Company has to create the jobs to be able to access the incentives. But they're very much at the table with us in wanting to help us, again, do all we can. And the incentives just really help companies decide to invest more here, to create more jobs here, to maybe do things faster, because we can help them with some of the upfront burden of taking on a new project. And so this is a couple things as far as the impact and the work we're doing. Again, things we're working on, such as the 1300 North planning effort with the redevelopment commission. Those really just help us continue to prepare for future investment, future development, and make sure we can be ready as future opportunities come forward. whatever those would look like. One way that we are also investing in the future, this is my last point for today, is our entrepreneurship initiative. The commissioners and council have been entirely supportive of our efforts around entrepreneurship programming. We are working through our board, through volunteers, and in collaboration with the county, the city, the Kosciuszko Chamber, OrthoWorks, other entities. And the idea really now is to help create a single front door for entrepreneurs, a single name brand, if you will. Other communities we compete with, places like West Lafayette, Bloomington, Notre Dame, even Fishers and places in Indianapolis have a dedicated, name brand, if you will, or entity focused on supporting entrepreneurs. One place to go to be able to access all the different, support that's out there to support entrepreneurs. And so we don't have that. And so we're looking at how we might do that and how that helps us with our other efforts around supporting entrepreneurs. Not just to have another organization, but to have someone getting up every day, working on supporting and working alongside entrepreneurs. And again, making sure we're known as a preferred destination to start and grow a company. Once people find their way here, we have some great success stories to point to of people, multi-generational companies that have been very successful here. But it's a matter of helping people get here and consider our location. We can compete with places that are a lot bigger, a lot further away. If it's the Boston corridor in the Northeast, if it's Metro Chicago, Minneapolis, Memphis, that really making sure we're putting our best foot forward to support entrepreneurs. So we'll have more coming as far as our efforts to help really establish a dedicated support around entrepreneurs. But we're at that point where we're ready to establish a entrepreneur support organization, tied to our efforts, and then with a dedicated staffing, we have some funding from the state to help with that. And so there'll be what I call an entrepreneur navigator role. It'll be create on a part-time basis to start, but then ideally, again, to help build the momentum for a bigger effort to support entrepreneurs. That's probably the big update for today, but happy to help with any questions, discussion, and there'll be a lot more in the progress report to look at. And we'll have our Q3 report to share as soon as it's ready. So,
Any questions, gentlemen?
Well, the only thing I'd say is it's a really exciting time to be in Kosciuszko County right now. There is just a lot of things going on that just a matter of trying to pick which opportunities are not good ones, but the best ones. And I think that's a really good place to be. And I think as we look to the future and some of the things that are happening right now, it's going to be exciting to see what really comes to fruition out of some of these, because some really exciting ideas and opportunities out there. So appreciate your team's efforts and all that. Sorry I wasn't able to make the meeting last week or annual meeting last week, but had to
no worries, we'll
figure
do it
some good
again.
things. So
Thank you.
I see in your brochure here that this company, GemViz, what can you tell us about that? New upcoming,
Right, so GemViz is a startup that came out of our MedTech Accelerator program we worked on together. And so that's local entrepreneurs, and it's a startup focused on using, I'm going to get this half right because it's technology that's beyond my capabilities, using virtual reality and some of the artificial intelligence around the orthopedic sector. And so the specific application, I think it's somewhat in the works, but it's a company, example of a startup where, in the orthopedic space, in medical device more broadly, there's a move toward building, how do you build, if it's Apple Watch apps that help kind of track your patient's progress, if it's an app on your phone you can use to check in with your doctor on your recovery, that's really where a lot of the companies are moving, is to try to develop those kind of capabilities. And GemViz is, again, I'm not going to do a great job explaining what they do, but they are a step towards having a startup and hopefully more startups in this area that are adding those kind of capabilities.
hope it's the new Biomed, huh?
Never know.
You never know.
Never know.
Thank you,
Of
appreciate
course,
it.
thank you.
Thanks, Alan.
All right,
Appreciate
pleasure.
all you
Thanks so
do.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, Ann? Good morning, Ann. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good, thanks.
I am here to ask for permission to apply for a grant for, from the Secretary of State's. On here it states HAVA Election Security Grant. That's the grant that the Secretary of State received. In our proposal, we would have to, in order to receive the funds from the Secretary of State, we would have to use it for voter outreach, voter education, and in that area. I'm asking the minimum that we can receive from the Secretary of State would be $21,000. So I'm asking to apply for that 21,000 to help us with a texting program that they can use, an app that they can use to communicate with our office on election-based questions, get links to information that they need. And then we're working with a local studio, Dream On Studios, to help us create training videos and voter outreach videos to put on our website.
Okay.
Well, I think in today's trying to get the young people out to vote, I mean, those are all things that
Yeah.
are gonna hit people where they are, which is on their devices. So I think those are all great ideas to get more people out on election day is a great thing, so.
Yeah, and the texting service it isn't automatic. They have to interact with it in order to receive information.
Very good.
Huntington County starting that program this fall for their fall election. I'm hoping to have it, if I get the grant, to have it in place for next year's election.
Okay, I'd make a motion, we accept a request to apply for the HAVA Election Security Local Grant of $21,000.
I'd second that.
Okay, any question or discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Ian.
Already did.
Ed?
Have two matters. One is the approval of an agreement for the Economic Growth Workforce Development Elected Officials Agreement. This is an agreement that designates the elected official in Kosciuszko County that is responsible for workforce development pursuant to the Indiana Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act of 2014. A designated official for Kosciuszko County is the president of the commissioners, so that'd be you, Brad. This is an agreement that is executed along with others in our region, City of Elkhart, City of Goshen, Mishawaka, Napanee, Plymouth, Rochester, South Bend, Warsaw, and the other counties are Elkhart, Fulton, Marshall, and St. Joseph County. So I would ask for approval of that agreement.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay,
Second matter, we have a resolution for consideration by the commissioners. The title of the resolution is approval of transfer of the Hammond Cemetery from the commissioners of Kosciuszko County to Franklin Township. I'll read the applicable portions of that resolution. Whereas the commissioners of Kosciuszko County hold fee simple title to the Hammond Cemetery, whereas the Franklin Township maintains the Hammond Cemetery. Whereas in order to spend township funds to maintain the Hammond Cemetery, the township is required to hold fee simple title to the Hammond Cemetery. Whereas in consideration of the township continuing to maintain the Hammond Cemetery, the board desires to transfer that cemetery to the township for no monetary consideration. Now therefore, the following is hereby resolved by the board. One, the board approves the transfer of the Hammond Cemetery to Franklin Township for the consideration of the continued maintenance of the Hammond Cemetery by Franklin Township and for no monetary consideration. Two, the board approves the county taking any necessary actions to complete the transfer. That resolution submitted for consideration.
okay. Entertain a motion on that?
So moved.
I'll second that. I mean, this is one of the last ones, one of the last cemeteries that we had in the county that weren't owned by the local trustees. So I think that's just finally cleaning up the last one here,
No-brainer.
so.
Second.
Yep, second.
Okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay,
That's all I have.
thank you, Ed. Marcia?
Yes, I have one item for you today. That would be the Emergency Preparedness Planning Committee. This is a committee that will put together develop a continuity of government operations plan. This would basically continue to identify essential functions that need to be performed in catastrophe, emergencies, that type of thing. Those appointments would be by their office that they serve in, would be Highway Superintendent Steve Moriarty. The sheriff would be his designated appointee, Chris McCann. The clerk of the circuit court, Ann Torpy. The county auditor, Rhonda Helser. Commissioner Carrie Groninger. County administrator, Marcia McSherry. And EMA, Kip Shooter. And I'm sure with Kip's guidance, we'll be able to put this plan together It'll affect some offices more than other offices. Like I said, they'll be identifying their essential functions and how long you can go without that function before we have to make a plan to put in place and how we deal with those plans.
Okay.
Need a motion for that, or does?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, all's in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Rhonda, do you have anything? You do, wow.
So it was brought to our attention that back in August, a claim got missed from the cabs to purchase a bus. They need approval for $211,600. Didn't get presented at the time.
I'll make a motion to approve. I mean, this is funding
Second.
through MACOG, I think.
Second, okay, all's in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
all right.
Thank you.
Just for information, I know I've got a meeting next week to tour their facility, because the commissioners own all the buses. Tour their facility, and I think the following week, NDOT's in to do their audit, so just keeping everybody up to date that those things are happening. Thank you. Staying in compliance.
Thanks. Any department heads? I see quite a few of you out there. Anybody? Nobody? All right. If that's the case, we'll plan on being back here on Tuesday, October 24th.
Any further business?
Slow. About what particularly? Huh? About what? Life. We think it was forever. You know, we're going to tell you that like they're heading, so it's good. I've been walking the dog since we left in the morning and all sorts of